What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, the moment has arrived for one of the biggest fights in the sport of boxing currently as it stands, between undefeated 3-division world champion, former undisputed junior welterweight world champion, currently the WBO welterweight world champion, widely considered by many to be the number one best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and Terence Bud Crawford. 37 wins, no losses, no draws, 28 big wins by way of knockout, 34 years of age, standing 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. He's taking on two-time welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Showtime Shawn Porter. Shawn Porter, 31 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws, 17 wins by way of knockout, 34 years of age, stands at 5'7" with a 69-inch arm reach. With that said, they will be doing business Las Vegas, Nevada, Mandalay Bay Arena, okay? So, with that said, here goes my final breakdown and prediction. In this fight, Terence Crawford is going to have a 1-inch height advantage. He's going to have a 5-inch arm reach advantage. He has the ability to switch from orthodox to southpaw fluidly. He fights in many different levels, mid-range, inside, and on the outside. Shawn Porter is going to press you every second of every minute of every round. So with that said, this is the biggest fight in Terence Crawford's career. This is a statement fight for Terence Crawford. This is a make him or break him fight for Terence Crawford. As Olympic gold medalist, former pound-for-pound king, retired Hall of Famer, and friend of Terence Crawford, Andre S.O.G. Ward, he stated that this is a legacy fight for both guys, for sure. For Terence Crawford, for sure. As Terence Crawford, he states and admits that high-profile, big lucrative legacy fight has been eluding him. This is it at the age of 34 years old. This is in the late stages of Terence Crawford's career that he's having a fight of this magnitude for the first time in his career. Now, he's had big, meaningful fights. He fought Julius Indongo at junior welterweight for undisputed. Okay? That was a great accomplishment. But the level of competition is just not there. And then when you look at Shawn Porter, the level of competition is there, but Shawn Porter has yet to get over the hump. When you look at Shawn Porter, those 3 losses, his first loss and his second title defense after he beat Devin Alexander for the IBF title, he defended against Paulie Malignaggi. Then he defended against his mandatory and Special K, Kell Brook, British superstar boxer. And Kell Brook, he beat Shawn Porter. Now, Kell Brook did a lot of excessive holding in that fight, but nonetheless, Shawn Porter didn't make the proper adjustments to offset Kell Brook holding him. And Shawn Porter, he came up short. Then Shawn Porter, he went into a fight with former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman. And a very nip-and-tuck fight, close fight. But Keith Thurman, he separated himself enough in the fight on enough rounds that he got the nod. Now, if you look at it, it'll say a unanimous decision. But it was a very close fight that could have been tipped in the favor of Shawn Porter. But on the inside, Shawn Porter was getting clipped with hooks, little short choppy hooks on the inside that visibly buzzed him, and I believe that's what swayed the judges. Then he went into a unification bout after beating 2-division world champion, former WBC welterweight world champion, Puerto Rican superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia for the vacant WBC title that Keith Thurman himself had to vacate due to inactivity. Keith Thurman had to vacate the belts because Keith Thurman just wasn't active. So he vacated the WBC title. So Shawn Porter, he fought Danny Garcia for the vacant WBC title that Keith Thurman beat Danny Garcia for. And Shawn Porter, he got the nod. He won that fight. I thought he personally won the fight decisively. But many people thought it was a close fight. Nonetheless, Shawn Porter, he got the nod in that fight. He won the fight. Then Shawn Porter, he defended his title against now WBA, World Boxing Association, Cuban star boxer Yordenis Ugas, who now the super champion after he defeated and shocked the world, beating legendary 8-division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao via unanimous decision. But at that time, Yordenis Ugas was not a world champion. He went into a fight looking to capture the WBC title from Showtime Shawn Porter. Now, Shawn Porter got a split decision nod over Yordenis Ugas. And many people, well, they were unhappy with that decision because many people thought that Yordenis Ugas should have got the nod and he did enough to win the fight. Again, another very, very close fight at the highest level for Shawn Porter. Then Shawn Porter, he went into that massive unification showdown with now unified WBC, IBF, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Earl the True Spence Jr., who was widely considered to be top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. 27 wins, no losses, no draws. 21 big wins by way of knockout. 31 years of age. 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. Well, that speaks volumes in itself. That tells the story, right? I just said he was undefeated. So that means Shawn Porter in a nip-and-tuck fight that many people pegged Errol Spence to walk right through Shawn Porter and possibly stop Shawn Porter in that fight. Well, he didn't stop Shawn Porter. But he did knock Shawn Porter down in the 11th round, and he did dominate the 12th round, which clearly separated himself in a fight that was a seesaw fight, going back and forth, nip and tuck, undecisive. Some people had Shawn Porter winning. Some people had Errol Spence winning. They were just swapping rounds, going back and forth, back and forth. And with that said, Errol Spence, he got the nod at the end of the day, and once again, Shawn Porter, he came up short. So in the biggest stages, Shawn Porter has come up short. So yes, indeed, this is Shawn Porter's back against the wall legacy fight that he has a point to prove. He has to show the world that I indeed belong in this conversation, that I indeed am not just a stepping stone for the best of this generation in this era, that I'm not just a forgotten fighter of this era. I don't come in last in the bunch. Now, he did beat Danny Garcia. He did beat Andre Berto. He did beat Adrian the Brown Broner. He did beat Paulie Malignaggi, and he did beat Devin Alexander. So he did beat Yordenis Ugas, whether you agree with it or not. And that win over Yordenis Ugas looks better and better every day. Now, many people may not agree with the Yordenis Ugas decision, but at the end of the day, he competed with Yordenis Ugas, and it was a nip and tuck fight. So at the end of the day, even if you felt like Yordenis Ugas won the fight, Shawn Porter was in that fight. But once again, he's in competitive fights, but is he getting over the hump? See, that's what the people want to see. They want to see if Shawn Porter can get over the hump. And here's another opportunity, once again, for Shawn Porter at the age of 34 to get over that hump and prove that he belongs in that conversation with the best of this era, right? And then maybe it'll garner a rematch with Errol Spence Jr. Maybe it'll garner a rematch with Keith One-Time Thurman. Now, Keith Thurman has been relatively inactive once again as he lost his WBA title to Manny Pacquiao July 2019, and Keith Thurman hasn't fought since. Going on 3 years of Keith Thurman inactivity. But with that said, Shawn Porter could garner a rematch with Keith Thurman, a rematch with Errol Spence. Kell Brook is past it. Now, speaking of Kell Brook, that's the last time we saw Terence Bud Crawford in the ring, is when Terence Bud Crawford, he fought and beat Kell Brook. But Kell Brook hadn't fought at the welterweight division in 3.5 years. Kell Brook was seen to be far past his prime. And even in the first couple of rounds of that fight, he troubled Terence Crawford with his jab, leading many people to believe that the biggest fight in the sport of boxing that's perceived as such between Terence Bud Crawford and Earl the True Spence Jr., well, Errol Spence Jr. is a technician with his jab. Errol Spence Jr. is highly skilled. He's a southpaw with a lot of power, and he's big. And if Kell Brook jab could trouble Terence Bud Crawford, then for sure Errol Spence jab could trouble Terence Bud Crawford. So it left the door open for a lot of questions regarding Terence Crawford. And after the fight between Shawn Porter and Errol Spence, when most people expected Errol Spence to stop Shawn Porter, and that wasn't the case, after the showing for Shawn Porter in that fight, and then Shawn Porter went on to beat Sebastian Formella in a dominant fashion, who was an undefeated fighter. Now, what's interesting here is to note is that both of these guys have been inactive for over a year. The last time Shawn Porter fought was August of 2020. The last time Terence Crawford fought was November 14th of 2020. So here we are, November 20th. So Terence Crawford hadn't fought in a calendar year and a week. And Shawn Porter, well, this is even longer for Shawn Porter because he hadn't fought in a calendar year plus 4 months. So, my prediction is this, that in the middle rounds and possibly in the first couple of rounds, Shawn Porter is going to visibly hurt Terence Crawford. To many people's surprise. He's going to rock Terence Crawford a few times with his pressure, his awkwardness, his ability to press you every second of every minute of every round. He's going to make Terence Crawford very, very uncomfortable. He's going to land more clean punches on Terence Crawford than you ever witnessed in Terence Crawford's career. But ultimately, Terence Crawford's ability to make adjustments, Terence Crawford's ability to fight in all 3 different levels, Terence Crawford's ability to switch from southpaw to orthodox, and more importantly, Terence Crawford's power in both hands as the ambidextrous. He has power in the left and the right. So any position that you put him in that he's uncomfortable, he still can deliver power. So I think that that's going to be enough to slow down Showtime Shawn Porter. And I think that Terence Crawford is going to win a split decision tonight. Yes, a split decision. I know a lot of people expecting Terence Crawford to make a statement, including Terence Crawford, and obviously it's his team, as he's supposed to. But I don't believe that Shawn Porter's style will warrant that. Now, Shawn Porter, as I asked Shawn Porter, you get hit and you got rocked by Errol Spence in a short, choppy left hook on the inside that dropped you in the 11th round and proved to be the difference in the fight. You got hit and you got buzzed a few times by Keith Thurman with those choppy left hook and right hooks on the inside. And that proved to be the difference in those fights. You got caught by leaping hook by Adrian the Problem Broner in the 12th round of the fight. Now you still got the nod, but did it reveal a weakness? Because moving forward, Danny Garcia, he buzzed Shawn Porter with hooks on the inside. Keith Thurman, he buzzed Shawn Porter with hooks on the inside. And Errol Spence, he dropped Shawn Porter with a hook on the inside. Terence Crawford's specialty is hooks on the inside, and the fact that he has power in the left hand and in the right hand and can deliver those hooks from every angle and anywhere mid-range, inside, or on the outside could prove to be a problem. Now, Shawn Porter, when I asked him, he stated that he's indeed taken note that that's an issue that he needed to correct. Now we're going to have to see it. My thing is, Shawn Porter, in the heat of the moment, gets overexcited, and I think Terence Crawford is going to drop Shawn Porter in this fight about the 8th round, and I think Terence Crawford is going to win a split decision, a la Errol Spence did. I just think he's going to drop Shawn Porter earlier in the fight, but he himself is going to get buzzed and rocked a few times and shock the fans in an exciting fight that could be fight of the year. We got to see how this plays out. That's all I got for y'all. Terence Crawford, and still the WBO welterweight world champion of the world. And then we move forward and look to see if we can get that mega massive showdown between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. That's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Raw. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
This is Amanda, the Real Deal Serrano, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.